What's up, everybody? You're very welcome along to an impromptu late night agenda, really, because we don't normally do them on match days. But I thought with the result today, there was something that was on my mind that I wanted to talk about. So I said, hey, feck it, let's go back on. And I will get into it in a second. I'm just going to wait a minute for the chat to fill up while I say my hellos to everybody. I do apologise again that... Well, I don't apologise about the notifications, but there's nothing we can do about it. For those that aren't getting notifications, basically YouTube cap you at how many live videos you can do in a day for notifications. So, yeah, no notifications on this one. So it'll probably be a quieter stream. But I do want to talk about today's game. But mainly I want to focus on the midfield. And I don't want this to be a reactionary stream. This isn't me just coming on to have a rant about midfield today and how we don't have enough options. But I want to look for a more structured debate around it. And I wanted to get you guys involved in it. So look, we will wait for people to come in. And while we do so, just a reminder, as with every other late night agenda, we are proud to be brought to you with thanks to our friends at manscaped.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we know the festive season is coming upon us. Halloween now, Christmas is only around the corner. If you are looking for that special present for that person in your life that you think has hairy balls, because let's be honest, that's what this is all about, then don't let those jingle balls go to waste. Don't let those jingle ball vibes go to waste, ladies and gentlemen. Get yourself over to manscaped.com. Have a look around. They've got some excellent new products as well. Some 2-in-1, some shampoo, conditioner, lots of great stuff there. I, of course, love the Lawnmower 4.0. You can get 20% off and free shipping on absolutely anything at manscaped.com with our discount code WFM20, and your balls will thank you. There you go. Lots of love to our friends at Manscaped. You know the spiel at this point, ladies and gents. Everything we spoke about before still stands. Free shipping. But they have new products, which is why I'm telling you guys to go and check them out. Again, if you want a Christmas present or anything like that, go to manscaped.com. Right. Look, midfield, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to be somebody that comes on and says, I told you so, because I know we all think the same about the scenario. But let me just put it this way. And I think I spoke about it in a post-match reaction show. And the more I've thought about it, the more it's dwelt on my mind a little bit. And the more I wanted to try and articulate it in an elongated format where I can really get my opinions across. So in that game today, we lost the midfield battle. You can look at that and say we lost the midfield battle because of injuries, or you can look at it and talk about individual performances. But what really was telling to me, and I'm sure if I posed this question to Jurgen Klopp, he'd give me an answer and a valid answer, but still doesn't get away from the fact that in that game today, we had a scenario where there was one manager, i.e. Graham Potter, who looked at his bench and thought, I have options on that bench that can come in, impact this game in a positive way, and maybe wrestle us a result. And he made his full complement of changes. From the other side of things, Jurgen Norbert Klopp, our manager of the club that has won Premier League title recently, that has won a Champions League, that is bringing in a shit ton of money and revenue, he looked at his bench and seemingly didn't feel the same way. He looked at his bench and he was forced into the chains of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Nothing you can do about that one. But the only player that he deemed that could come on and change that game in any way was Diogo Jota. And that to me is where the problem lies. And look, it's very easy to have 20/20 vision in hindsight, but we all spoke about this when WIJNALDUM wasn't replaced. And one of the players on that pitch today, one of the best midfielders on that pitch today, was Bissouma, who we all said could do a job in Liverpool's midfield, but he's not the only one. There were numerous options for Liverpool to go out there and strengthen the midfield. And again, we've got 7 or 8 bodies in there. We got the spiel from the gaffer about not bringing people in just for the sake of it. But we're in a title race. And we're in a title race in the first half of the season. And we're already on the bare bones of midfield. We're already on our arse. Naby Keita's picked up another injury. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's misfiring. Curtis Jones, still a young player that is going to have ups and downs. That's going to happen with somebody who's coming into such a vibrant team that is firing on most cylinders. And Thiago, with all due respect to Thiago, love him, can't wait for him to be back playing, but I think it's fair to say that he's had his fair share of knocks as well. So what I'm getting at here is we can have it two ways. We can have it that we're happy to have a small squad and know that injuries can happen to us and not go out and replace them. We just can't do it. It's just a recipe for disaster. And look, I know that so many people are going to point out to me that this is maybe reactionary to the performance today, but we're only here. We aren't even at the AFCON time yet. We aren't even in the busy festive period yet. And already Our midfield looks like it's on its arse. Fabinho's out, Keita's out, Thiago's coming back, Elliott's out, Milner's out. We're relying now on potentially Tyler Morton to come in, who looks like a very talented young footballer. But I always feel sorry for these guys. There's one way to look at it and say, all right, if he gets his opportunity, he can take it. But I'd like these guys to come in when we're winning a game, when things are going in our favour, when the momentum is with us, and they don't have as much pressure on their shoulders, because talents like Tyler Morton or Harvey Elliott before him, they need to be eased in bit by bit. So this, for me, was a result that was coming. You know, we've been let off the hook on a couple of occasions this season with 2-goal leads against Atletico Madrid, against AC Milan, and today in the Premier League, it did come back to haunt us. And we lost it in midfield. That's where I'm going with this. And we just don't have enough quality in midfield for a club of our size. And it is the only area that like you can look at the attacking side of it and we can nitpick. But we always have 4 attackers for 3 positions. And you can play other players in that position. You can play Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain up there, Takumi Minamino up there. You can get creative. But in midfield, the workhorse, the water carrier part of the pitch for Liverpool Football Club. Yes, Hendo will run all day for you and he'll give it everything. Yes, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain will come on and he'll try and do his best, but we're lacking in proper depth in that area. And if that costs us the Premier League this season, if that costs us maybe one of the Champions League this season, then the owners really have to look at this and take the blame on themselves, because we're competing and we're fighting with squads like Manchester City's and Chelsea, who have 2 quality players in every single position. And I mean international quality in every single position. Liverpool didn't learn a lesson last season. We thought the centre-back situation was an anomaly. We thought, oh, really unlucky there to have so many centre-backs out. We come into this season and it's the same old thing. The same rinse and repeat. We didn't replace somebody who was bulletproof for Jurgen Klopp, Gini Wijnaldum, bulletproof, always available, never missing for the gaffer, always relied upon. We didn't replace his minutes on the pitch, and yeah, it's all very well and good saying, but the plan was to use Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott. Well, how's that plan worked out? Because Harvey Elliott's picked up an unfortunate injury that you could say nobody could see coming, but if we didn't learn our lesson in the centre-back scenario, then surely we have to look at our own doorstep now and take some responsibility on here, because we can't have that many injury-prone players at the club if we're going to have such a tight squad. That's basically what I'm trying to say. I want to see what you guys think about it. I know it's easy to be reactionary after dropping points, but as Kloppo said, that felt like a defeat. Akash, thank you for the super chat, mate. First one of the night. He said, quality of the squad depth is very low. Right now, even Leicester have more squad depth than us. We need serious investment in the squad quality backups. And yeah, and do you know what, mate? This is how disheartening it is. So I'm not disagreeing with anything that you've said. But how annoying is it to look at a situation where we know that Jude Bellingham has a price on his head that could probably get him. We know that Ryan Gravenberch is going to be available, but due to his agent, we won't do business. And you could go around Europe and you could find 5 or 6 midfielders that we could talk about bringing into Liverpool Football Club. But no sooner will we have uttered a name than we have to talk about how on earth we're willing to afford this. So there's 2 ways of looking at a transfer business. I've said there's 2 ways a lot today, by the way. We can look at it from the point of view of, yes, it was brilliant that the owners managed to renew a lot of players' contracts, to keep Hendo there, Van Dijk there, Alisson there. That's all brilliant. But you're still only staying with what you have. You aren't giving the manager any new options. And losing somebody of the calibre of Gini Wijnaldum and not replacing him with all the goodwill in the world and all the positive attitude in the world looking towards Harvey Elliott and all this, Gini Wijnaldum, they are not. You cannot mask experience, and I just feel like we just lack that little bit in midfield. I can understand the scenario about the attacking players. I can understand waiting to see who's available in the summer, but to not replace Gini, I think it's nights like tonight that we're going to be feeling that pinch, and it's not great, and it's not good enough for a club of our size. It isn't. At least one attacker and a midfielder is needed, said Levi. The midfield will cost us this season, said McIntosh. And I hate being this person, by the way. I hate coming on and talking about this because there's so much to love and admire about this Liverpool team and this group of players, and rightly so. They're battlers, every single one of them, and they put in a shift week in and week out. But it's almost like asking Klopp to work untold miracles at this point. And look, you can come back and you can counter any argument they're making. I appreciate that, and I will try and get through as many different viewpoints as I can here tonight. But to me, again, I'm going to say what I said at the start of the video. One manager looked at his bench and was happy with his options and made the full complement of changes. The other manager waited until the 80th minute outside of the Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain substitution, which was enforced, and then brought Jota on, and eventually Minamino came on and did nothing. So, where was the game management? Where was the squad management? Where was the depth? I don't want to be saying this. I don't. I'd love for these lads to come on and make a difference, but Graham Potter's changes impacted the game positively. Our changes did nothing. And if that doesn't talk about squad quality, if that doesn't point out that we're lacking difference makers outside of the front three, I don't know what will. It's frustrating. And that's before we get to talk about the fullbacks, by the way, and how often we're being turned over possession high up the pitch, and how it's too easy for teams to turn us over, get into the either fullbacks position and get at us. And a lot of these mistakes aren't because teams are pressing us really well up the pitch. It's because of little slack 5-yard passes that Bobby Firmino, or today Andy Robertson on occasion, and sometimes Trent, we're our own worst enemy. So it must be very frustrating to be Jurgen Klopp, knowing what this group can do and has done and will do, but then seeing that teams are very easily pinpointing how to get at us. And again, Brighton were a great example of it today. If you can turn the possession over when we're in attack and we commit bodies forward. So the only option here is to commit less bodies forward and be a little bit more compact defensively, or try and find some creativity in midfield. I would love us to try and find some creativity in midfield, because we could have it with Thiago, we could have it with Keita, no arguments, no doubt about it, but we can't rely on them. Nobody can look me in the eye and say, Craig, Naby Keita is going to play 30 games this season. Nobody can look me in the eye and say, Craig, Thiago Alcantara is going to play 30 games this season. And that's where the problem is for me right now. And obviously no Fabinho. Any team in the world would miss a player of Fabinho's calibre. And Hendo, I love Hendo. So much to love about the lad. So much to admire about his attitude, his ability, his engine. So much. So I love the captain. What a goal today as well from Hendo. But we are missing a lot. We are missing a lot. And we're going to have to get to a decision on, for me, it will be Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. That would be the one that, if Liverpool could move on, and it's easy playing, championship manager or fantasy manager and sitting here and say, sell this lad, bring in this lad. Somebody has to be willing to buy them. Somebody has to be willing to come in and take their wages on. And that's a job for Michael Edwards, and it's easier said than done. But we do have to draw a line under this. We're going to have to be clinical at some point and say there is too many players carrying too many injuries throughout this squad, and we either admit that it's because of the intense schedule that we have and the way that we play football, and then get to the adult conversation about needing a bigger squad, or we find people that are more robust and can actually play 30-35 games a season. That's the way I see it, from a very, obviously, non-biased, but that's not right. Somebody from a non-statistically driven place. I look at football, I'm old-fashioned. I look at football with my eyes, and I trust what I see on the pitch. Statistics might prove me wrong, but, where's this creativity from midfield coming from? And it has hampered us time and time again, and Brighton played through us so easily at times today, and there's a lot to admire about how Graham Potter has that team playing. But in our own gap, 2-0 up, and we're clinging on at the end of the match. And I think we'll all admit we were fortunate to leave Anfield with a point today. Our transition defence needs to be better, in my opinion, said Aiden. Yes, and look, Aiden, sometimes, mate, that can be as simple as taking a yellow card for the team, stopping the counter-attacks before they get going. You see, we often criticise Manchester City, and Fernandinho in particular, for doing that, but it's effective. And if you have to share them yellow cards around midfield, then so be it. You share them yellow cards around midfield, but yeah, look, again, not trying to find scapegoats, just trying to have a genuine conversation. David Newell said, Naby Keita could injure himself kicking a cushion. It's time to cut our losses and let him go. Yeah, look, Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain to me are the two at the top of the list. Now, moving either of them on, I think it's fair to say we're probably going to take a fairly big hit financially if we can find buyers for them. For me, right now, looking around who's available in midfield, Youri Tielemans still hasn't signed a contract with Leicester City. Absolutely, Tielemans could do a job. Basuma, spoke about him. Yes, he's got some issues that need to be sorted out, but again, quality midfielder. Moving further afield, Bellingham, Gravenberch. We won't get Gravenberch because of Mina Raiola. You can look to Inter Milan and go Nicola Barea. Would we be able to attract him? Would he want to move? Would they sell him? I don't know. But that's before we look at Neuhaus, Wirtz, Rafinha, many other players that we could look at and talk about how they could impact the club. Maybe in the hole behind the front three, but we do need to just get a bit of creativity in there. Other words, we're going to be reliant on our fullbacks again. And how many times today did we pump balls into that penalty area in the last 10 minutes when they have two 6'3" plus centre backs and we're pumping balls into the box hoping to win a header? Edwards is solely responsible for contract negotiations. I don't know what that has to do with what I'm saying. Jamrock, I'm not trying to be rude. Genuinely, I don't know what you mean by that. I'm not suggesting that Jurgen Klopp is negotiating contracts or anything, mate. I'm just saying that it's more about depth to me than contracts. I mean, we can talk about Mo's contract, happy to, but Renato Sanchez would have been an option in the summer. You know, he hasn't really impressed, if I'm being fair, with Lille this season. I watched him against PSG yesterday. Wasn't blown away by him either. To me, the answer's out there. The answer's Jude Bellingham. That's the answer. That's the one. That's the player that will get Liverpool through the next 7, 8, 9, 10 years and will do this club proud. But we all know we ain't paying it. That's soul destroying. Because you look at Bellingham, you can see that he'll want to come to Liverpool. No doubt about that. You can see that he would suit this team. You can see how we could utilise him. You can see that the fans would love him. And if you want to talk about longevity of career or even getting a player that could have a sell-on value, heaven forbid, he just ticks every goddamn box. And it's so frustrating that we know there's a player out there who's doing bits in Dortmund, who is going to be an absolute star, who has a fondness for Liverpool throughout his family, and yet we're not even going to be realistically in the conversation because it's 100 million quid. Manchester City went out and spent 100 million on Grealish, and he plays, what, 70% of the games, let's say? Whereas we get told we've got the second highest wage bill in the country, third highest wage bill in Europe. Great. Referring to why Gini wasn't signed to a contract. Yeah, I mean, on that one, Jamrock, mate, it's... I'll never understand that. I'll never, ever be able to understand why Gini WIJNALDUM wasn't given a fair contract. And by fair, I mean he should definitely be up there with James Milner. He should definitely be up there with Jordan Henderson. He should definitely be in 150k plus a week. That's the calibre of footballer Gini WIJNALDUM is. And that's, I think, the type of pay that he could have expected to get elsewhere and has gotten elsewhere. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I think it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that once again the manager's been left to find solutions for problems that aren't of his making and problems that are entirely predictable and avoidable. Pedri has a 1 billion release clause. Of course, yeah, we're not going to go near Pedri at this point. No doubt about that one. Jimmy said, hurts after winning a hard 3 points last weekend and then throwing 2 of them away today. Yeah, I don't disagree, Jimmy. But we could see it coming. You know, you could see it coming because we've had warnings. We've been too porous defensively this season. We've conceded too many goals. That's our 4th draw of the season. I mean, it's very well and good we sit here and say, oh, great, unbeaten in the Premier League. I'd rather be beaten and be in Chelsea's position right now. I'd rather be 3 points clear at the top of the league table and worrying about not having a defeat on a record. So, you know, Chelsea are the team it looks like to catch this season. Manchester City, I don't know what's going on there, to be honest with you. I mean, we talked about Manchester City potentially going to Old Trafford and destroying United next week. Now City are on back-to-back defeats. They were knocked out of the League Cup by West Ham on penalties. They were beaten in their own gaff today by Crystal Palace with Laporte sent off. So, and then United go and win 3-0. So we're looking at that game now next week. Now, thankfully for us, any result there will do us a favour. So it almost feels like Matip has lent his Play-Doh body to Naby. Yeah, look, it's so fucking frustrating about Naby because, as I said, nobody in this chat will say that Naby Keita is not a fine footballer. You could bring in a 6-year-old young lad or young lady from the street, show him Naby Keita playing football, and they'll tell you he's a quality footballer. That much is clear to everybody. But the club have tried everything. The club have looked at his nutrition. they've looked at his core strength, they've looked at injury prevention, and they would have left no stone unturned. But still, we are left with a situation where we're lacking bodies in midfield because the clearly predictable injury-prone players are picking up injuries, and the bulletproof players like Gini were let go. It's frustrating, but it is what it is. The only thing we can do is try and resolve the scenario. But, and here's the kicker, we know that in January, the odds are we'll probably get a Mohamed Salah contract extension, which is amazing, which will absolutely cheer us all up and will absolutely be fantastic, but it doesn't really resolve the situation. So I often talk about not wanting to loan players because if you loan a player and he does well, best case scenario, you sign that player, but you haven't actually improved your squad from the season before because you're used to having that player in your team. So as great as it is renewing contracts and having Alisson and all these players signing on to stay at the club, brilliant, all over it. But it doesn't improve us. It gives us stability, but it doesn't improve us. And Jurgen Klopp said when he came in that it's healthy every season to bring in one or two new bodies to refresh, to challenge, to keep the players on their toes. That's what has to be done. So you can't continuously let a position go unlooked after or not looked after. I don't know what way I'm trying to phrase this, but Lovren left. Now, we can all say Lovren wasn't the greatest defender in the world, but he was still a body. And we ended up with Reece Williams and Nat Phillips last season. Gini Wijnaldum left this season. We can talk about his wages, we can talk about his demands, you can talk about whatever you like. But on the pitch, Gini Wijnaldum is available, is fit, shows up, and puts in a 7 out of 10 performance every single week. That's gone, and now we have no bodies. Frustrating. And it is a shame because we're looking at the best manager of my lifetime, maybe the best manager of the last 50 years at Liverpool Football Club. We're looking at a group of players that we are extremely fortunate to be able to watch week in and week out. But all we need is just a little sprinkling, one or two more. And realistically, I think we'd understand if they were 30 to 40 million quid players. Let's say it was a Basuma. Let's say it was a Rafinha. Let's say it was a Jared Bowen. Let's say it was a Harvey Barnes. We'd understand that. We could see that there is some rhyme or reason behind what they're trying to do. So I think if you talk to most Liverpool fans rationally, we'll understand that the club are working in financial restraints. We'll be thankful that the club are trying to do things within their means. But there's such a thing as being too cautious and asking Jurgen Klopp to pull too many rabbits out of too many hats and go back to the well over and over and over again. There's only so many times you can rouse the troops. There's only so many times you can get the lads to dig deep. And there's only so many times that you can hope for a moment of magic from Mohamed Salah before we have to start having the big boy conversations around acting like a fucking big club. And Liverpool, unfortunately, at times do not act like a big club. I understand we're not United. We can't afford to take players on that are on 350, 400 grand a week and for them not to work out. I get that. I understand it. But again, I'd point to the fact that our track record of the transfer business we've done under Jurgen Klopp's tenure or in the 10 years that Michael Edwards has been at the club has been nothing short of phenomenal. Nothing short of phenomenal. So if the owners know that we've got a manager who can work miracles, a brilliant coaching staff that can improve and want to improve players, and an excellent director of football or whatever you'd like to call Michael Edwards, why not back them? Why not let these lads get one or two bodies in and just take the burden off? Just take the burden off and give the manager a bit of breathing room. There we go. Yeah, but look, again, as I said, it's very easy to be reactionary here, and I do want to give full credit to Brighton today because Graham Potter's team showed up, didn't let their heads drop, battled to the end, played some great football, and played us off the park at times there today where, you know, we were lucky to hang on. Some great saves from Alisson Becker kept us in the game, and that incident, I still can't get over that incident with Andy Robertson, by the way, that he allowed Tariq Lamptey to outmuscle him. And then 2 seconds later or 5 seconds later, Trossard's the ball in the net. Thankfully, he went a little bit too early. He was offside. But stuff like that, it does my head in. The owners need to start backing Klopp because without Klopp, I don't know where we would have been. Mate, it's tough because it's a double-edged sword. So we can say that, and you're right to say that, mate. We can say they need to support the manager, but their argument will be, well, that's the reason we brought Jurgen Klopp in. We brought Jurgen Klopp in because we knew that he could do this, that he could get the most out of players, improve them through coaching, turn 6 out of 10 players into 8 out of 10 players. So there is that as well. So that would have been one of the reasons they were attracted to bring Jurgen into the football club. But if we're looking at trying to get Jurgen Klopp to renew his contract in 2024, we need to take the weight off the manager's shoulders and relieve a little bit of the pressure that's there. Because, you know, you see managers in the Premier League, they age very quickly because of the pressure that comes with the job. So I think maybe it's time to just say to Jurgen Klopp, look, you know, we're going to show you some support here financially and make the tough decisions. I don't know. Let's hand it over to the chat and see what you guys think anyway. How long have FSG been in control of Liverpool? Is it 11 years? It's about 11 years maybe? Again, my memory's like a goldfish, but Brighton showed us how to pass the ball. They did. Chris, they were brilliant today. You know, I give Brighton every credit. Sometimes it was as simple as just a little triangle, mate. A little triangle to get around the press. But they did it magnificently, and it showed again. It's a blueprint for how to disrupt Liverpool. If you can get round our first press, space is there, particularly if you can not only get round our press, but if you can win the ball back off us when we're in attack, and in that period of transition where we haven't got our fullbacks because Robbo and Trent are usually high up the pitch, again, play past the first press and the space will be there for you. Very early doors in the game. I don't know if it was Trossard. I don't know if it was, Solly March. I don't know which one of the Brighton players it was, but in the first 5 minutes, there was a one-on-one save with Alisson. And he seemed to have the freedom of Anfield. There was just space for days there. Zachary Williamson said, I've heard Jurgen suggest the team has everything it needs. Do I think he believes that, or is he trying to be a company man? I would agree with him that the team has everything it needs if we didn't have injury-prone players. So if he's talking about the caliber of players, if he's talking about having players that can work in different systems, that can change games in different ways, then I would agree with him up to the point where we start talking about injury-prone players. So let's be fair, you have to start taking out Thiago, you have to start taking out Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, you have to start taking out Naby Keita out of these conversations, because on paper, yeah, it looks great. Loads of midfielders, but it's when you start getting into these points of the season where 2, 3, 4 of them are dropping down with injuries that suddenly we don't have the solutions that maybe looks like we have on paper. So I think Klopp is far more intelligent than me and most people on this planet. So Jurgen Klopp will be aware what he's lacking, what he has, and he'll always try and put a positive spin on it, which is why we love him. That's why we love the gaffer. He always tries to put a good foot forward. But I think I'd like to see him be a little bit more outspoken on this. I'd like to see him be a little bit more pushing it back onto the owners a bit. I know it's not his way, and I know it probably won't happen, but I just want the manager to be given the tools to do the best job that he can. That's it, really, because I've no doubts about the gaffer. I get pissed off and frustrated, of course, around the lack of substitutions at times. That's the only one critique of Jurgen Klopp I'd really have. I don't want to throw the fact that he believes in his players and that he puts faith in them. I don't want to hold that against them, because that's a beautiful thing. But sometimes that faith might be a little bit misplaced, because if their bodies ain't up to the rigours of playing 50, 60 games a season, then we need to bring in people who are, because football is a ruthless business. Even Tyler Morton would do a better job than Oxlade-Chamberlain at the moment, said Danielle. I wonder, mate, will we see him in midweek against Atleti? I know. As soon as I said it, I was thinking, that's going to be a difficult afternoon for the young man, because Atleti are going to get about us. Atleti are going to go at 100 miles an hour, and they'll do all the snidey tactics that we expect from the Diego Simeone side. But, you know, we've got to be careful, because the bigger game, let's be frank about it, the bigger game is the one against West Ham next weekend, because we're going to go through in this Champions League. I know from the club's perspective, if anybody ever wanted to know why we played Jota and so many senior players in that dead rubber against Midtjylland, I'm going to tell you why now. It's because you get £2.5 million for winning the Champions League game in the group. £2.5 million for winning the game. That to put that into context, let's say we go and win the League Cup this season, 100 grand. 100 grand is the prize money from the League Cup. So you can see why these things are prioritised, because we might say 2.5 million quid in the grand scheme of things is nothing. But maybe that's the difference for Jurgen between getting a player and not getting a player. Maybe if you add up a couple of those Champions League wins, that's 5 million quid in the bank. You know, you move on somebody of 7, 8, 9 million quid, all of a sudden then you're potentially able to bring a body in. So while we criticise the manager for stuff like that, maybe that's why. Because he's trying to eke out every last pound note to be able to go and do transfer business. I'm spitballing here, I'm guessing, I don't know, but it was a damning statistic when I heard it. 2.5 million quid for the 3 points in the Champions League group stage against the 100 grand to go and win the whole EFL Cup. So yeah. Anyway, over to you guys in the chat. Would you consider only within the League Cup and or FA Cup a disappointing season? Any season with some type of silverware is good. And it's no shame and it's no disgrace to maybe lose out in a title race to this Chelsea or Manchester City team. But we need to be in that race. We need to be there fighting until the very last game of the season. And Klopp needs to be given every tool that can possibly be given to him to do the job. So it's about context, I suppose. I mean, look, would I be happier finishing this season with a trophy than no trophy? Absolutely I would. But not if it's at the cost of a title challenge or a good run late in the Champions League, because they're the two trophies that you need to look to first and foremost. And anything after that, it's a bonus, but it's also not what we want. So, yeah, I'd take a trophy. Of course I would, but I'd rather we're mounting a serious title challenge. I'd rather we go deep into the Champions League. Who do I think would be a good signing? Again, I kind of keep giving you the same names, mate. If you're looking at midfield, Barella, Bellingham, Gravenberch. I don't know too much about Neuhaus, so I'm going to hang off on that one. Florian Wirtz, Bissouma, Tielemans. I mean, that's 7 I've named off the top of my head. And look, it's easy for me to sit here and throw names out. Of course it is. Far easier than going and getting the lads in the door. But, you know, Tielemans right now has not signed that contract at Leicester City. Leicester City are sitting in 10th place. Well, they were before the games today. I don't know if they've dropped down or gone up a place or two, but they were sitting in 10th place after they lost at home to Arsenal earlier on today. So the odds of Tielemans actually going and signing that contract while Leicester look further away from the Champions League than they have been over the last 2 years, where they were very, very unfortunate not to get it. I mean, it's a perfect time. It's a perfect time because Leicester aren't the club that get pushed around in the transfer market. They are a club that do very well when they sell a player. But, you know, contract situations being what they are, you know, I think we should go in there and try and get Tielemans. That's what we should do. We should try and weaken our opposition by getting a player whose contract situation would allow us to do it. That's my take on it. And that's before we start talking about the Jared Bowens, if we're looking from an attacking perspective, Harvey Barnes, those type of players. Tonali is another name people are throwing around. Sandro Tonali is another good, promising young Italian player. But Bissouma was the one for me in the summer. Look, I know Bissouma has some stuff he needs to take care of. But in the summer when Gini left, I think Brighton would have even sold him. I really do think Brighton would have sold him. For me, Bissouma would have been such an easy decision to go, yeah, if Yves Bissouma fancies the move, if they're willing to do business, and if the price is, let's say, 40 million quid, I think Yves Bissouma comes in and solves a Gini Wijnaldum-shaped hole in our midfield. Chacha real smooth goes, we need a centre forward and a new midfielder. But we needed that in the summer. You know what I mean, mate? We needed that in the summer. And here we are again. Akone, somebody else said, would do a good job. It's not doing that great this season for Lille that I've seen in League 1. So, you know, he is another name that was mentioned, but I wouldn't have Akone at Liverpool, being honest with you. I think Jeremy Doku is... I think we'll see Jeremy Doku come through the door in the summer. I really do. Can we try and get Gallagher from Chelsea? They won't sell him, mate. Let alone sell him to us. Do you know what I mean? He's out there doing bits now on loan, playing very well for Crystal Palace. No doubt there's a baller in there, mate. I don't disagree with you, but Chelsea aren't going to sell to us. Not a hope. Ethan said we've already started looking for Tielemans replacements if they leave us. Ethan must be a Leicester City fan, and Yeah, look, and I've no doubt, Ethan, I have absolutely zero doubt that whoever you bring in will be quality, because Leicester's recruitment has been phenomenal. Absolutely top notch. And yeah, look, I've no doubt, mate, if you do lose Tielemans, you will bring in somebody of a very high standard, because, Leicester's recruitment's been excellent. I mean, Anthony is, and look, I'm going to be recording a One Football News video to go out tomorrow, and look, I will be talking about Anthony from Ajax in that video. 21 years of age, I think it was Sao Paulo, maybe he came in from, to Ajax this season, and he looks a proper player. He does look a proper player, and yeah, again, another good shout, but that would obviously be from an attacking perspective. Bissouma, Tielemans, or Tchouaméni is another shout from Bish. Tchouaméni obviously playing for Monaco. He was linked with Chelsea not so long ago as well, with a few other clubs around Europe. So yeah, another good. And look, some of these are reasonable. Like, we're talking players like Jude Bellingham, which we would have to sort some money out from somewhere to get that over the line. But there are some great 30 to 45 million quid midfielders out there. And look, in the grand scheme of world football, we should be able to go out there and add one of those type of players every season. There's no reason why Jurgen Klopp shouldn't be able to have a 30, 40 million quid net spend every summer. There is no reason for a football club the size of Liverpool not to be able to conduct that type of business, not to be fully reliant on sales. I understand every manager will want to move on players that are on the fringes, or players who have a high wage, or players that I don't think are up to the job. I understand that happens. And to supplement your transfer spend with that, sound, no problem with it. But you've got to be able to actually work in the market. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we turned a profit, or we're close to turning a profit in the summer. Again, if I'm not mistaken. And look, what we're talking about here, all these figures, they're basic figures, because we've got agents' fees, we've got image rights, we've got loyalty bonuses, we've got VAT, we've got tax, all this other stuff that goes along with a transfer, medical expenses, of course, as well. Craig, swap Thiago or Keita and Ox for Marco Verratti. Well, with all due respect, I love Verratti, but we're not going down another injury route. You know what I mean? Marco Verratti is somebody who picks up his fair share of knocks and misses a good chunk of games. So, yeah, I would say no to... I would say yes to Verratti from a playing perspective. I love him. He's one of the most complete midfielders in Europe, but, he misses a lot of games. 8 million profit, Diogo said. 8 million profit this summer. And look, again, we did renew a lot of contracts, which is great. I'm delighted that we renewed those contracts, but we're always getting an excuse. Always. It's really frustrating. And it's frustrating because we know we've got the manager in the league who, with anywhere near the level of backing that his counterparts or his peers have received. Like, okay, here's the damning statistic, right? Since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has taken charge of Manchester United, and he's only in his third year now, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has taken charge of Manchester United, they have spent in excess of £300 million net on players. Net. So that's after the money that they've recouped. And I looked through it. The biggest money that they've recouped was from Romelu Lukaku, and the rest was all pittance. Few million here, few million there. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been able to spend over £300 million net on his squad, and they're shit. And our manager, somebody who has a track record of amazing transfer business, and we've got Michael Edwards who can do amazing deals, has spent what's his net spend since he's come to Liverpool? 40, 50 million quid over the course of the time he's been here. And look, I don't have that exact number to hand, but I know that it's certainly less than 100 million quid net spend. It's a joke. And look, maybe United isn't the best comparison, because United can burn cash. Manchester United are a money-making machine. So maybe that's not the best example. But Manchester City, if they're playing within the rules, if they're spending what they can afford, why aren't we up there being able to compete with those guys? Well, look, it's easy to answer that because we know that they're being creative. Okay, fair enough. Manchester City, we know. We all know. What do I think about Klopp's management today? I think that he looked at his bench and didn't see people that he think could change the game. That's all I can take from it. So, look, we can talk about whether Matip should have played or Kanade should have played. But other than that, I don't think I would have made too many different changes. The only other option, and again, it's great in hindsight, but Bobby Firmino was in great form coming into this game, so probably would have been Bobby Firmino that I gave the nod to as well over Diogo Jota, to be honest with you. But it's just the lack of options that he had. He looked at his bench and he thought, right, I'll bring the lads on with, 10 to go? I think, was it 10 to go that he brought Jota on? Maybe it was a little bit longer. But he leaves it too late. Half time, I would have hooked Bobby Firmino today. And I think that wouldn't have been out of the ordinary. Half time, I think that would have been fair because it was clear he wasn't up to it. Joel said the defence is the least of our worries at the minute. It's not the least of our worries, to be fair, when we're conceding as many as we have. Now look, you can talk about defending from the front, of course. You can talk about stopping these attacks before they get to that point. And that's where a Fabinho will come in and do a job. Jota got 12 minutes. 12 minutes. 12 minutes. And look, Minamino must have gotten, 2, 3? You know, that was basically a fucking waste of time substitution, really. Keita and 20 million for Tielemans. But with Leicester, why would Leicester want an injury-prone Naby Keita, who can't play a run of games together in the Premier League? It's the same league. I don't think Brendan Rodgers and the Leicester recruitment team will be sitting there going, well, yeah, let's get this injury-prone lad from Liverpool in. A lot of people saying Van de Beek should sign for us because he gets no playtime. United won't sell to us. Even if they don't want a player, they wouldn't sell to us. Joel said the only thing that frustrates me about Klopp is the timing of the subs. Yeah, I'm with you. But we can only read to that a couple of things. Either it's his stubborn streak and he wants the lads on the pitch to be able to solve these problems, or what he says to the media isn't actually true and he doesn't believe in the quality of the squad depth that we have. One of those two things has to be true. It has to be one or the other. Either he doesn't have enough players of quality that he thinks can change the game, or he has this really stubborn streak where he believes the lads on the pitch will get the job done. And look, a lot of the time, the lads on the pitch will get the job done. I talked about letting 2-goal lead slips against Atleti and AC Milan. We won those games, to the lads' credit. But we made it a lot harder than it needed to be. Haki got 3 minutes. So he basically got injury time today. So what were we expecting? How are we expecting Takumi Minamino to be able to prove himself, to be able to show he can impact or change a game if he gets 3 minutes of injury time? Nobody can do anything in that. Unless you get one ball over the top and you get a half chance and you score, you're not going to be able to impact the game. You're not going to even get up to the speed of the game in 3 minutes. Keita going off disrupted the team. Disappointed in him for the last time. He needs to leave, said Zebo. Yeah, look, it's difficult with Naby, isn't it? Because it's not his fault he's getting injured. It isn't. We're frustrated. We're annoyed. And yes, there's definitely a conversation to be had about, well, when do we draw a line under this? When do we get to the point where we either look at Naby Keita as an absolute bonus when he's available, or we move him on? So that point, yes, we have to have a conversation around that. But it ain't the lad's fault. Naby, you could see it written all over his face today. So I feel really, really bad for Naby Keita because you can see how frustrated he is. And no player wants to be injured. None. But, it was another non-impact injury. Nobody was around him and he went down feeling his hamstring. What have we got? Joel, so we have a lot of things to worry about right now, e.g. the amount of goals we're conceding. Yeah, it is. And look, it's okay conceding goals if you get the points, but sooner or later it will catch back up with you. And as I said, today, we talk about the context of stuff and how draws come about. I know it's frustrating letting the 2-goal lead slip today, but we're fortunate that we didn't leave there with no points because, split chance there for Trossard. He was offside, and by the way, VAR got every decision right today, I have to say. Salah's goal was offside correctly. Mane's goal was ruled out correctly. Trossard was offside correctly. So look, spot on in the decisions there today. But yeah, Fabinho, Milner even, And do you know what else is a little bit annoying? We don't get enough information on players' injuries. So, Fabinho, it's a knock with his knee. Okay, any idea when we might have him back? You know, any updates? Because, again, I understand you don't want to give the opposition maybe a heads up, but God, I don't know. Maybe I'm just rambling here a little bit, folks. Maybe I'm just frustrated. But let me say one thing. As frustrated as I am, and I am frustrated, I love this group of players. I love this manager. And I love where we are as a club. So I'm in no way throwing my toys out of the pram, because I'm immensely proud of Jurgen Klopp, of Liverpool Football Club, of the way we go about, of the way we conduct ourselves, and of the effort that the lads put in. Always want to put that first out there. Love the lads. Very proud of them. I guess my frustration comes from, I feel like the manager's not being given the tools that he needs. And I think that's the case with a lot of Liverpool fans. Akash said, in my opinion, we can't blame Klopp for lack of substitutions. Look at the quality of the bench. Taki and Origi are not game changers. Klopp had no options. Yes, but we can't accept that to be true. So we can't say that Klopp had no options and then also allow Jurgen Klopp to come out and say that he's happy with the squad that we have. Who could come in and improve the squad? Because he has said these things. Let's be frank. He has said these things. So we can't let him hang his hat on both. Not that Klopp's looking for excuses, by the way. But, you know, we can't feel sorry for him and then have him come out in the media and basically say, it's sound, we don't need anybody. We do. We do need somebody. And I would like maybe the manager to be a little bit, because I think the players will know he's doing it for them. The players will know that he's doing it to try and get them some help. He's not doing it because he thinks the lads that he has is shit, because they clearly aren't. They're an amazing group. But we do need a little bit more. We do need another body or two. So, you know, the manager does have to take some responsibility. You know, at least if he's not publicly saying we could do with a body. And, you know, that's not throwing the owners under a bus, but it is putting a little bit of pressure on them, because the fans will get right behind him. If Jurgen Klopp came out and said, I'd like us to bring in a midfielder in January, I think we're a little bit short in that area, every single Liverpool fan around the world would be right behind him and saying, yes, Gaffer, we back you. That's what we need. 100%. He's saying it to maintain order. I get that. What you say in the dressing room to the lads, you know, look, Alex Ferguson, Jose Mourinho, Arsene Wenger, every one of them managers went out there. It's not his job to be fucking loved by the owners. It's his job to win the owners' trophies and win the club trophies. So if he has to stick it to the owners a little bit, so be it. Rafa did it. I liked Rafa when he did it, because I know he wanted, and Jurgen would want the best for the club and the best for the fans and the best for those players he's coaching, because he's only going to manage Liverpool once. He's only going to have this legacy once. We're only going to get Jurgen Klopp once. So let's not have any regrets. United bought Sancho, as Sean is saying there, for 80 million, and he's sitting on the bench. But as I said at the start, mate, United can afford to do that. United can afford to have more mistakes in the transfer market than us, because they generate more money than us. So they have a little bit more room to manoeuvre in that regard. Whereas Liverpool, we almost try to be... Look, we have to be clever. I get that. You know, we lean a lot on statistics. We lean a lot on any cutting-edge technology that the club can find, whether it be a throw-in coach, whether it be the guy who came in to help the lads with their breathing in these scenarios. You remember the surfer guy that came in, the German lad, who helped the lads with their breathing to, you know, calm them down in the big moments. All of these type of things are brilliant. And as... Who was it that came out and said it? Achterberg came out and said that from their perspective with coaching, anything that's needed like that, the club backed them. But fair enough, great. So you can go out and get a new laptop, but can you go out and get a midfielder? You know, it's all great saying, oh, the owners is great. If we need a new laptop, sure, we can go down and get a new laptop. Great. Can we get a midfielder? Can we get a midfielder, please? If you didn't say these things, the squad harmony suffers. It doesn't, though. I've been in enough dressing rooms to know it doesn't, mate. All he has to do is say to the lads, look, I think we need a body here. I'm going to go out there and put it on the owners. Because the lads know he has their back. Of course he knows he has their back. The fans have his back. Everybody would back Jurgen Klopp if he came out and said, I think we're a body short in midfield. Everybody. Thoughts on Chelsea's performance today? I haven't watched it back, mate. You know, congrats on the 2-goal win, but I haven't had a chance to watch the game back. RSH14 said we tried to be too clever at times. I just read somewhere Liverpool are planning to take Bellingham and Haaland on a double signing. If you believe that, Thomas Miel Mucker, with all due respect, mate, I've got a bridge I'd like to sell you, because the odds of us going and signing Haaland and Bellingham are about as much as me showing up on this stream tomorrow with the Carlos Puyol style haircut. Okay, said Craig, think we should bring in Trossard. He'd be a great rotation player. Adris said, I thought Brighton played very well today, especially in the second half. Good exercise before the Atletico game. Yeah, Brighton were brilliant. Full credit to Brighton. You know, there's a lot to admire and like about Brighton, and there's a reason that Graham Potter is being talked about with top managerial jobs, because he's very good at what he does. And again, his recruitment's been very good as well with Brighton. So yeah, full credit to Brighton, not taking anything away from them. Joanne said, Brighton turned up, Craig. We need to be, you say realised? I don't know what you mean there, Joanne. Sorry. There's so many great players we could buy, and it's so disappointing that we won't show many generational talents and great players wasted because FSG don't want to go into their pockets, said Tyra. Yeah, there is definitely. I said, you give Jurgen Klopp 70 million quid and sales in the summer and watch what he could do. We'd be sorted, because we're only 2 away. In my humble opinion, we're only 2 away. I think we can let the right back situation ride, because look, I've seen promising things from Nico lately. You know, it's fair to say I think Nico Williams is up there, and we have young Bradley coming through as well. So we're not a million miles away. Two players, a midfielder and a wide forward. And if we lose out on this season because of one signing, how much money are the club going to lose out on? You know, how much would the images of Liverpool winning the league, of that prize money, go around the world? How many more shirts would be sold? How many more Salah shirts would be sold? I don't get it. I don't get it, but I'm not running the football club. I think we've just got to give Thiago time for full fitness. He'll fix most of our problems. Again, love it. Happy to. But can Thiago put 10 games together? Because he hasn't been able to do it that I'm aware of since he's come to Liverpool. I don't remember Thiago starting 10 games in a row. I don't remember Thiago starting 6 games in a row off the top of my head. But I won't disagree with what you've said. He's absolutely fantastic. But we knew getting him that he was probably going to be a 25-30 game in total a season player at best. Big game player. The trips to Old Trafford, stuff like that. That's where you would look for Thiago. The latter stages of the Champions League. And look, if we can get these injuries sorted for the business end of the season, if the lads go away to the AFCON, don't pick up any injuries and come back, if Elliott's back playing, then great. We still have a lot to work towards this season. And look, it only really kicks on for us in February or March time when the Champions League gets to the latter stages and the Premier League gets to the business end. But I'd like us to have a League Cup in the bank at that point. I'd like us to still be in the FA Cup, and I'd like us to be pushing on both fronts, the League and the Champions League. But to do that, I think Jurgen Klopp needs to be given the tools to do the job. And today, to me, was a perfect indication of a manager looking at his bench and not seeing the solutions. That's basically where I was going with this entire stream. What do I think of United's 5 at the back? Well, you know, putting 3 centre-backs in there did a job for them today. They soaked up what Spurs threw at them and caught them on the counter-attack. And, yeah, look, United's performance... Look, let's be fair. Solskjaer got his tactics right against Spurs today, and it's not very often I'll say that. What have we got? Would I take Rodgers back? No, I don't want... Klopp's the manager. I couldn't be arsed talking about other managers, Rodgers or anybody else, because we're not going to get anyone better. There is nobody to come in now better than Jurgen Klopp. Nobody. So the manager's sound, in my opinion. Craig, I don't think you've good enough squad depth to win the Prem, but I can see you winning the Champions League. I think that's a fair assessment, mate. You know, Champions League, we're pretty much through the group stage now. So let's say what? Last 16 home and away, quarter-final home and away, Champions League, semi-final home and away. 7 games after the group stages away from winning that tournament. And if you go heavily up in the home leg, for instance, you can probably say 5 games in that tournament. So yeah, a little bit of luck on our side, definitely. But is the little dude at the UFC? Is the little legend there at the UFC? Sorry. Can somebody tell me, is what's his face at the UFC, the little legend? I'm sure I just seen him sitting in the front row. Craig, do I think FSG will lose Salah? No. And look, I'm going to be, as I said, I'm recording the One Football news show. As soon as I finish this, it'll be out tomorrow. I will be touching on the Mohamed Salah contract situation, and I'll be touching on a couple of transfers as well. No, not Khabib, the little dude. What's his name? Not Hamza, whatever the guy's name is. Hamzala, whatever his name is. That little dude. I'm sure I just seen him in the front row. Hasbullah, that's the one. He is there, is he? I knew I seen the little legend in the front row. I love that little dude. He's my spirit animal. I love him. What a little man. Top notch. Anyway, look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say my goodbyes. I'm going to go record this video. I won't be live tomorrow. Obviously, it's Halloween, spending it with the kids. But I will see you guys on Monday. Massive shout out to Manscaped again. Don't forget, if you're looking for a Christmas present, get yourself over to manscaped.com. The Performance Package 4.0 featuring the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker 4.0, the ball toner, the ball deodorant, the boxer brief, the shed travel bag, and all in a lovely presentation box as well. That's my personal favourite. You can get 20% off and free shipping with our discount code WFM20. I will see you guys on Monday. Don't forget, One Football news video will be dropping tomorrow. Have yourselves a cracking weekend. Thank you for tuning in. Lots of love. Enjoy the UFC.